Hello, welcome to the Code of Honor podcast. It's so great to have you here. I'm your co-host, Kylie. This is my co-host, Kyle. Kyle, how are you today?
Doing great, Kylie. It's been another big week. We seem to be having a lot of those since we kicked this thing off.
It's almost like they knew. They were like, these two, they need some news. My sister and I decided we couldn't swing it. It's expensive, so on and so forth. The only show that I was really excited about was Supercard of Honor, was the Ring of Honor show. But I decided I couldn't just buy the pay-per-view. And then Tony Khan yesterday drops a bomb on us. He says the Briscoes is a definite versus FTR. This is happening. I'm a little bit surprised because I would have thought this would be an AEW match, maybe on like one of their TNT specials. Mm-hmm. But it's at Supercard of Honor. I'm stoked. How stoked are you?
It's the match we all wanted it to be as soon as the mystery challengers were announced. I know you and I talked about it in some of our previous episodes about all the different teams that it could be and how it would be amazing if it were any of them, whether it was the Kings of Wrestling or the Motor City Machine Guns or the American Wolves or, on and on and on. And those all would have been amazing, but we kept coming back to FTR. And I wonder if, of course, baseless speculation, if the decision to do it in Ring of Honor has anything to do with the rumors that Warner Media does not want the Briscoes involved in AEW. And Tony is a fan realizing this might be our only shot to get this match.
I would say it's probably likely because the Briscoes in AEW did feel like an inevitability when Ring of Honor folded a few months ago. But it never happened. And so I always suspected there was some issue there. I didn't know it would be with Warner Media, of course. But the Briscoes staying in Ring of Honor against FTR, and then maybe FTR wins the titles and they can bring the titles to AEW and we can bounce them back and forth. I don't know. But when FTR came out at Final Card of Honor, when was it, December?
Yeah, Final Battle December.
I always thought it would happen sooner. Did you think it would happen sooner?
I wasn't entirely sure what to expect, honestly. I kind of tentatively thought that Supercard of Honor might be the goal date based on that being a previously announced comeback show. Mm-hmm. And the fact that AEW didn't really have a lot of major events in that intervening 4 months. That seemed like an obvious place to circle on the calendar, especially being WrestleMania weekend. But I was surprised at the lack of build, that it just continued to be chirping on Twitter, and that was it. And
I said this on other podcasts. I was really surprised they didn't do any sort of build in GCW while the Briscoes were there. Mm-hmm. I always thought that would have been really interesting. Not that FTR would have wrestled in GCW. I'm not sure that's a great fit. But if FTR did a run-in or some sort of angle with the Briscoes in GCW just to keep it going, the Twitter promos are great. But it's like FTR alluded to in the video they posted yesterday. It's just Twitter. And you're just talking on Twitter, and now you're going to have a match, and I'm excited for it. It's a dream match. But I wish there was a little bit more story.
Yeah, the GCW connection is a great one, and it immediately brings to mind for me the Jerry Lawler invading ECW kind of vibes.
Yes.
So you could have FTR big timing all over GCW. You could even have them because they've had a long relationship in one way or another with Jim Cornette. Where you could use some of his loaded terminology that will really get under the fans' skins and really generate that kind of heat they're looking for. It would be the match seems to fit in that way. I like where your head was at with that. But the match, oh my goodness, is this going to be a match build or no?
Yeah, it's going to be so good because these are two tag teams that, they've been tagging together a long time. The Briscoes, of course, something like 20 years. And I think when people think of tag team wrestling in 2022, they think of FTR and the Briscoes and the Young Bucks. And we're really sort of blessed to see the revitalization of tag team wrestling. And the Briscoes, of course, controversial comments aside, I can't really comment on that. I'm not a member of the LGBTQ community, but they've apologized for it. And I just hope that it's sincere. And maybe in the future, we'll see them at an AW show. If not on Dynamite, then maybe on a pay-per-view or something.
I would love to see it. I'm not a member of that community either. It's not my place to say one way or another. I will say that back in, I believe, January, Effie did come out in an interview and said of the Briscoes and GCW, something to the effect of they're changed men, and I'm really glad to have them in the locker room. And it would be reductive of me to put the entire viewpoint of the LGBTQ community solely on Effie. But his is a voice that I do value. So,
yeah,
it's a complicated situation. And executives of companies like Warner Media are doing the best they can, I'm sure. And we would like to see it. But hey, we have a revived Ring of Honor, so maybe we'll see him there.
Yes. Speaking of revived Ring of Honor, Tony Khan was on Busted Open Radio, as he likes to do. And he said something that I thought was really interesting, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, this is a great opportunity to put our own stamp on it, but also pay respects to the great Ring of Honor traditions and the great history of Ring of Honor with some of the top stars from recent Ring of Honor and some of the great wrestlers who've been in Ring of Honor historically. Am I going to be able to take everybody from AEW and put them there? No. But I think there's a very cool way to use some of the great wrestlers in AEW who are going to be available and make this a great show. So it does sort of sound like Ring of Honor and AEW is going to be under the same umbrella. I do think he's talked about Ring of Honor weekly television, and to me, that makes it seem like it's going to be its own thing. It's not going to be like another Rampage or an NXT or anything like that. But the bridge is there for crossover. Yeah. And I think for Supercard of Honor, you could have some great surprises. But I also think a Battle Royal would be interesting just to mix Ring of Honor guys with AEW guys. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, they do have a history of doing things like Honor Rumbles for shots at the ROH World title, for instance. That would be an obvious one there, especially with the number of ex-ROH guys currently on the AEW roster. Number of free agents that you could bring in. You could easily fill a 20-person battle royal with something like that. The fact of weekly TV does imply sort of a split continuity, like you said, and that's going to be interesting to see. And it is a marked departure from the super indie concept we were thinking about before this deal came and absolutely torpedoed all of that. I was at that show.
Of course you were.
Oh my gosh, it was fun. I think that was the one where the top rope actually broke during if you'll forgive me the digression here, was a Bryan Danielson Tyler Black match, and Black, I believe, buckle bombed Danielson into the buckles, broke the top rope. But the Honor Rumble was a non-televised thing that was going to happen later in the card. So they took the bottom rope off, put it where the top rope was supposed to be, and just had the Honor Rumble with no bottom rope.
Love that.
Because it's live. You've got to make it work.
Yeah, get creative. Why not?
Anyway, slight digression. That's the old historian in me talking, I guess. And getting back to where things are going to go from here. Having its own separate show, its own separate storylines, but occupying what we can presume is a shared universe is going to be something. Because one presumes that ROH will be free to mention AEW and vice versa. Title holders, current angles. There may be an opportunity for crossover, like Tony says. I get the impression that he still kind of wants to use it as a developmental concept for AEW stars that don't get the same TV time, or younger stars that haven't really broken through yet. For instance, I think you see a Nick Wayne in ROH. as one example. I don't know if you're going to continue to see someone like a Ninja Mac continue to be brought in, or if this is a one shot for Supercard. But that I don't want to say talent level, because that implies a spectrum of talent from most to least kind of thing, but talent that a lot of the AEW audience may not necessarily have seen.
I definitely agree. And I think Ring of Honor, I don't think it's going to be a super indie in the way that we thought, but part of me feels like the guys there are going to have a little bit more freedom to work other shows, like maybe GCW or Warrior Wrestling or something like that. We were talking about this on Twitter, but a lot of people seem to think that this is going to replace Dark, and I don't think this is going to replace Dark at all. I think Ring of Honor is going to be almost like an additional brand, to borrow a term from WWE. I don't think it's going to be a Rampage. I think it's going to be its own thing with its own roster, its own set of guys. Tony Khan is going to be in charge of booking, which makes me think that this is a passion project for him. He's also a Ring of Honor fan. I hope we see a lot of returning faces, though.
Yes.
I'm a little worried that a lot of guys are not going to be brought back. And I would like to see a lot of the Ring of Honor guys and girls continue on and maybe get opportunities in AEW moving forward. But I don't want this to be a sole, like, this is where the AEW trainees and the people who don't have, ongoing stories on Dynamite,
right,
this is where they get to play. I don't think that's a good idea at all.
Yeah, and there's definitely some concern there. I know that if you can complain about AEW in some way, it's probably that sometimes people who aren't in major featured stories can feel very left out. Yes. And we definitely don't want ROH to become the AEW reject playground. I personally am clinging to hope based on what Ian Riccaboni said in his Facebook Live a couple of weeks ago about feeling pretty, and that may have all gone completely up in the air since this purchase. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. But about, if you've seen somebody in ROH in the past, it's a pretty safe bet that if they're available, you could see them again. And I'm sincerely hoping, bring me Claudio, bring me Joe, yes. Bring me, Punk is available now. Danielson is technically available now. I'd love to see those guys who, yes, they're top guys in ROH, or in AEW now, I should say, but they were also top guys in ROH, and they're so inextricably linked to that promotion. Like, I understand that they're big guys on your A show now, for want of a better term, but it would be doing massive fan disservice to not free them up for at least a few dates with this revived Ring of Honor. And I think Tony Khan is enough of a fan at heart that I think he would understand that too. At least I would hope.
I definitely think he understands that. I think the Claudio thing and the Joe thing is really interesting, because if they're going to treat Ring of Honor as a place for people to get reps or, something along those lines, having veterans like that there who have ties to Ring of Honor, there's so much story to be told. Yeah. And it makes me think of on Dynamite, the current story with Danielson and Regal and Moxley. And if you could do something like that in Ring of Honor, maybe with some young guys like a Nick Wayne or, people who are really talented but maybe haven't gotten a lot of TV exposure and wrestling on TV. Mm-hmm. I think that'd be really interesting. But at this point, it's just speculation.
100%.
Because Tony Khan is keeping this very close to his chest. And I think after Supercard of Honor, maybe we'll get more news on where TV is going to be. I personally think they should put it on YouTube. I think that's where you get the most exposure. Mm-hmm. But maybe he knows something I don't. I don't know. And this tape library, where to put the whole thing somewhere for me.
Yeah, ROH has continued to has teased Honor Club, I believe, since the purchase. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like Honor Club is going to continue to be a thing. At least blindly feeling around in the dark. I think it sounds like it's about to still be a thing. And so that's a possibility. It's possible it lives there. Maybe it streams, to Honor Club kind of thing, if it has that capability. There continues to be rumors of an impending HBO Max deal. I'm not sure between an HBO Max deal and Trios titles are both by the AEW fan base. They're just treated as though, yep, this is happening. We just don't know when. And
I mean,
maybe one of those things.
Maybe, a little bit of a side point. The Trios titles thing, I think, is definitely coming. Tony Khan said when Kenny Omega comes back, but now we're getting news that Kenny Omega is not going to be back for several more months, which take time and heal. But he's another guy I would love to see in the new Ring of Honor.
Absolutely, he had a good run off and on in the I want to say 07 to 09 range, right in there. He was around in the HD Net series as well, and had a couple of solid matches there. But at that point in his career, Kenny was always still more committed to Japan, still working DDT, still working New Japan, running those dates. That was his number one priority. So I don't know how much ROH really wanted to get behind him, but it didn't sound like they even got the opportunity, which, hey, that's his call. And he did very well for himself. Hard to argue.
Yeah, and when he was in Ring of Honor, when he did show up, especially in the Elite era, with the partnership with New Japan, the fans loved it. I loved it. The Elite era, for lack of a better term, in Ring of Honor was a really special time, I'd say.
It was. It was very much a sense of, it did kind of turn into greatest strength and greatest weakness at the time, because you had the Bucks and you had Kenny and you had Skrull and you had Cole, and they were all so insanely over, but it hid the fact that you didn't really have a lot underneath them at that point. And then when AEW happened and All In happened, you were left with poor Matt Taven holding the bag as champion and doing the best he could. But
and credit to him, Matt Taven is a fantastic performer, and I think he deserves a lot more credit. But I think everyone can acknowledge that Ring of Honor was not the same creatively. There were genuine concerns about the women's booking.
Yes,
they weren't selling a lot of tickets, but now Ring of Honor, they could have the Elite back, and everything will be okay.
I was a little sad to see, speaking of the women's division and some of the changes that happened there, the rebooted women's division that we got ever so briefly before the hiatus.
Yeah.
Were you, like me, a little sad to see Roxy sign with WWE? I get that bag, get the money. Yeah, you're young, and worst case scenario, you leave and immediately become a top name on the indies again.
Exactly.
Kudos to her. But at the same time, as a fan, a little sad that we don't get to see her against, in a rebooted ROH against, who knows, some members of the AEW women's division, which is deep and insanely talented. Rematch with Deonna Purrazzo, all those different things that were on the table. Maybe someday.
Yeah. And I was a little disappointed when it became official, of course. And I think it's definitely valid to feel that way when a wrestler you really enjoy leaves a promotion that you watch for a promotion that maybe you don't like and you don't watch as much. And I think we're seeing a lot of that in the last few days, people signing with WWE. I'll never fault her for getting paid, because I know as a woman in wrestling, she has to go get paid, or else she's going to have to hustle harder. And I think WWE is a great place for her. She's young, she's beautiful, she's athletic, she's talented, she's all these things. And like you said, if it doesn't work out, she can always leave when her contract expires, and she can go back to Ring of Honor, or she can go to Impact. There's lots of places for women nowadays. But like you said, I did feel like Ring of Honor was building the women's division around her. And now that she's not there, there's a huge void. And
Yeah.
Tony Khan, he has a lot of great female wrestlers at his disposal, both in AEW and in Ring of Honor. But I do think Tony Khan's booking of women's wrestling is a valid criticism. And I don't want to see the, Women of Honor go down the same path as, early days AEW when it was really struggling to get going. But, I'm going to be an optimist, and I'm going to say Tony Khan has learned his lesson, and Ring of Honor women's division will thrive.
I look forward to it. There's still plenty of talent out there. It's just going to be a question of there's just so many question marks, and I'm very anxious for Supercard of Honor to come, for us to fill in the blanks a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Just in terms of what it's going to look like. There was the whole dust up a week or two ago about production delays with the show because of concerns over branding. How is this show going to look? What logo are they going to use? They were talking about debuting a new logo, but now with the AEW purchase, maybe they don't do that. Maybe they save that for the debut of their weekly TV show. We know a few matches, but beyond that, I have no clue what this is going to look like. And that's kind of exciting in an odd way.
Yeah, I'm not sure the creative direction they're going with Ring of Honor or Supercard of Honor, for that matter. I think Jonathan Gresham is going to be their number one guy, but there's rumors of him, being all elite. So I don't know where they stand with Bandito. I don't know where they stand with anyone at this point. Everyone was a free agent when Ring of Honor folded. And now all of a sudden we have all these Ring of Honor champions on the indies. And now we have to bring them back for the Supercard of Honor show, mm-hmm. which is also, sort of related to AEW. So there's never been a better time to be a wrestling fan than in 2022.
No, there's never been a better time to be a Ring of Honor fan. Jump on board, discover all this with the rest of us. It's going to be amazing.
Even if you've never watched Ring of Honor in your life, you cannot deny that this is going to be an exciting time. And I think the popularity of AEW is really going to serve Ring of Honor well. And I think Tony Khan, fingers crossed, will have time for it. The man is superhuman. He's got a lot on his plate, but somehow, AEW just keeps getting better and better. So, I don't know. I'm not going to jinx him. Knock on wood. I'm not going to jinx Tony Khan. But Supercard of Honor, I'm probably not going to be able to be there live, but I'll watch it at home. I'll live tweet it for everyone.
Heck yeah, we both will.
Yeah, I'm FTR's number one fan. I love FTR. I think I say this all the time, and it's kind of a meme at this point, but I think Cash Wheeler is the most underrated wrestler in AEW, but probably on the planet. And FTR, even as popular as they are, even as great as they are still seriously underrated in AEW. Mm-hmm. So get those belts. Get them.
It's a great comparison, and I really like it. Everybody and their brother loves to compare FTR to the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, the Horsemen. And, Dax very much has that Arn Anderson, old school tough guy kind of vibe, mm-hmm. which would leave Cash as the Tully Blanchard role. And Tully, for his day, was... It almost seems like a disservice to call him a poor man's Flair, but he was kind of a poor man's Flair.
Yeah.
And 80% of, 75 to 80% of Ric Flair in that era was better than a whole lot of people. And the comparison works. And Cash is crazy talented, and it always surprised me that Dax always got the singles matches, and his singles matches were tremendous.
Oh, of course.
But wow.
It's not a knock on Dax because he's phenomenal as well. The dude is a walking encyclopedia of wrestling. I know Kyle's competing for the title, but Dax Harwood, he's got it right now.
Yeah, he's Ken Jennings, and I'm playing like Junior Trivial Pursuit as far as wrestling history, like not even close.
Well,
and I mixed two different games, but I don't care. Follow me on this analogy.
It works. I got it. They got it. It works. But speaking of wrestling history, we were talking about this earlier this week, and we decided to talk about it on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 years ago, which it doesn't feel like 5 years, it feels like maybe 2, but pandemic time.
Yeah.
In Lakeland, Florida, the Hardys wrestled the Young Bucks in Ladder Wars for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. And now we have the Hardys back together, reunited in AEW, and the Young Bucks are still around. And this match feels incredibly relevant.
Absolutely. To go back into a little history, because that's what I do. In the spring of 2014, the Hardys left WWE and sort of went on a tour of the independent circuit. They were all over the place, eventually landing in Impact, where, of course, the Broken Universe became a thing when Matt got that level of creative freedom and just went hog wild with it and created something that no one had ever seen before and revitalized his career. But by around 2017 or so, 2016, 2017, I don't know if they just wanted to move on. I hadn't really heard a lot of interviews regarding what drove them to leave Impact, but they were still the recognized Impact World Tag Team Champions, Matt and Jeff were. And out of the blue, they show up at Manhattan Mayhem in late February, early March of 2017. The Young Bucks had just defended the ROH tag titles against Jay White and Lio Rush, which, okay, great. It's interesting tag team, but that was while White was on excursion there in ROH before he went back to New Japan and became the Switchblade that we all know and love. But lights go out, Hardys arrive, challenge the Bucks on the spot. Everyone loses their minds. I don't believe this was the first Hardys Bucks match on the independents. I believe they had met previously. I'd have to double check that. I think they had, but I'm sure Jameis will find it shortly and have a cute little bar at the bottom for us. But Hardy show up, win the tag titles. Everybody goes insane. Cut to 4 weeks later at Supercard of Honor, April 1st, 2017. It'll be 5 years to the day from the soon to be occurring Supercard of Honor in Lakeland. Ladder war for the tag team titles, Hardys and Bucks, in a match where it's hard to not feel like it was a bit of a passing of the torch moment.
I definitely felt that way. And I just want to jump in. In
Please.
The Young Bucks book, their autobiography, they talked about this time. And apparently there was supposed to be a lot more build to this ladder match. But the Hardys, ended up going back to WWE, and they had to rush the story, rush the match, push it up months, apparently, to Supercard of Honor. But, for the time frame they had, I think the story was excellent. I thought the match was excellent. I think the influence of the Hardys with the Young Bucks is undeniable.
Oh, yeah.
I think most tag teams nowadays, if you ask them their inspiration, it's the Hardys. Hands down. Yeah.
Well, go back and watch early Hardys from 1998, 1999, in that era, right when they were debuting on Raw. And just look at things as simple as their gear. And then compare that to early Young Bucks gear. It's little things like that, but you see, the tassels and the designs, and it feels very proto Bucks. And
yeah,
which it's so cool to see. And I had not actually gotten a chance to read that, but it wouldn't have surprised me at all if the plan would have been to go through probably Final Battle with it potentially, because there was a lot of meat on the bone to be had there with that feud and that concept.
Yeah.
Very Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels from around WrestleMania 19, kind of, I grew up wanting to be you, and now look, I've surpassed you, and I'm gonna put you out to pasture kind of feel.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's the story that they're telling with Private Party now on AEW. But back to Supercard of Honor, back to the ladder match. Just looking back at other Supercard of Honor main events, it's mind-blowing to see how many, major matches and big names were involved in these matches. And I just got to say, the G1 Supercard, if we want to talk about the G1 Supercard, we can.
You can kind of count it. Sure. I'll allow it.
Okay.
Just because it's more stuff to talk about. Let's do it.
Yeah, this entire show really got a lot of criticism. For people who don't know what I'm talking about, G1 Supercard, Ring of Honor and New Japan ran Madison Square Garden together in 2019. It was a major show. People were really excited for it. Fans, for some reason, thought the Elite were going to be there. The Elite weren't there, of course. They formed AEW that same year. But the main event was Jay White versus Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
Yes.
And I don't know what your opinion was on the G1 Supercard. I thought it was a good show. But Supercard of Honor and the G1 Supercard, I think, historically has been Ring of Honor's biggest show. And I just want to go back and unless you wanted to talk about Young Bucks history more.
No, go right ahead. I was just looking at things like the stuff that occurred to me in researching that match about I was trying to remember previous Young Bucks ladder history to that point. And they had worked one in ROH previously against the Addiction. They had worked a couple in PWG. So, but people might still be waiting for that DVD to show up. So, you can.
It's fair. It's a fair comment.
But no, so they had worked 8 or 9 ladder matches prior to that point, and so you could see the comfort level. It wasn't like, oh man, we're oh my god, we're in our first ladder match and it's against the Hardys, and what do we get? No, it looked. I can't speak enough to how smooth and how high quality this thing was, from the construction of the spots to it was amazing from top to bottom. And as a blow off to an all too short feud, it was just top notch. And
I definitely agree. And I think the Young Bucks did a lot to boost tag team wrestling in Ring of Honor, and I guess tag team wrestling everywhere. They had some real classics in Ring of Honor, and I'm sure a lot of Young Bucks fans know about it, but I'm not sure how many AW fans know about it. So I'm interested to see if the Young Bucks do something in Ring of Honor. I'm not sure, but to bring it back to Supercard of Honor. Supercard of Honor in 2016, I'm going to say. Maybe Jameis can fact check that. The Young Bucks versus the Motor City Machine Guns. Motor City Machine Guns is another team that I feel is super underrated.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Alex Shelley in particular Saban deserves a lot of credit too. He's been a gazillion time X Division champion. That might be an actual count. I'm not sure.
Jameis, fact check it.
He held the Impact World title at one point. Saban has definitely, I'm never going to deprive Saban of his flowers either. But Alex Shelley to me is one of the most underrated guys of his generation. And oh my goodness, the promo that he cut on Jay White on Impact recently, where Jay White was telling the world how this industry moves around me and nothing happens without me, and and on and on and on. And Shelley came back with the amazing zinger of, "You don't happen without me." And the number of guys that learned from Shelley, watched Shelley, competed against Shelley, and it's actually true. Jay White did team with Alex Shelley when he was on Excursion in Ring of Honor. He teamed with the Motor City Machine Guns. So, that alone, that promo alone, I was already psyched when I saw Alex Shelley versus Jay White on that particular Impact card. But for anyone who, for some unbelievable reason, wasn't already psyched at that, listen to that promo, and it's, oh my God, take my money, show it to me now. But and we could talk a bunch about Shelley in ROH and the career that he's had there as a single star and with the Machine Guns. There's a couple, at least one time, if not 2-time ROH tag champions.
It's just, like we said, Ring of Honor's tag division was just incredible. I'm sure it's going to be incredible again because it's Tony Khan. Yes. And, there's a lot. I think tag team wrestling is definitely approaching another peak instead of another valley in terms of the number of tag teams and the quality of tag teams available. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to that. But while you're talking, I was doing some Googling.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, what was the first main event for Supercard of Honor 1? And boy, is it a doozy.
Yes.
Supercard of Honor 1, March 31st, 2006.
Yes.
Bryan Danielson versus Roderick Strong for the Ring of Honor World Championship.
And they went for 55 minutes.
I have no memory of this match. I'm going to be completely honest. I think I was too young.
They went for close to an hour. They did the fake out where they had everybody thinking that they were going to go to an hour draw. And then I believe Danielson countered a stronghold into an inside cradle and pinned him at something like 55 or 56 minutes. Classic. And the very next night, Danielson went out and defended the world title again against Lance Storm. And his chest was still red and bruised and swollen and puffy from all the chops he took the night before.
It's just so incredible to see these little bits of Danielson from 2006 that we still see today. 60-minute draw with Hangman. When was it? January 5th or something like that? 56:05. Dang. Great. I think a lot of people forget that Roderick Strong was in Ring of Honor too.
I would hope that they wouldn't, but because he was Mr. ROH, that was an actual nickname he used, but he earned it. I mean, the man carried so much of that promotion on his shoulders, even when he wasn't the champion. He was a guy you could count on every night to just have a lights out match. And
a Supercard of Honor 5, 2010, Tyler Black versus Roderick Strong for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Yep. Supercard of Honor 6, 2011, Eddie Edwards versus Roderick Strong for the Ring of Honor World Championship.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it took a while for them to finally give Roddy his shot at the top, and he did a heck of a job with it. He had found a character that worked for him with Truth Martini as his manager / life coach / guide, whatever you want to call it. He always had something going with kind of this frat boy heel kind of style about him, but the addition of Truth was really magic, and it really put Roddy over the top. I mean, his in-ring work was always there, but the addition there just really made his character work thrive. And in the course of your list, Supercard of Honor 2, Detroit, Michigan. I was there. It was not the main event, but it's the one that everybody knows from that show. Jimmy Jacobs versus Bj Whitmer in a steel cage to blow off their 2-year-long feud. And at some point, I think we're going to tackle that in depth more on an episode. I would hope there's some audience for that, because, oh my word, that still stands as one of my favorite bits of long-term storytelling, regardless of promotion, ever. It was so good from top to bottom, and the blow-off did every ounce of it justice. Later, the actual main event for the show was another Dragon Gate Trios match. because they had won the year before, and that was, for a couple of years, for the first 2 or 3 years, they did a Dragon Gate Trios match at Supercard of Honor. This one also featured Shima. Shingo was at this one. So of course it was just bonkers wall-to-wall action, which was tremendous. But everybody remembers it for the cage match. It featured Austin Aries defending the FIP World Title against Roderick Strong at that show too. But I had almost forgotten that match happened because of the aftermath of that cage match. Coming down off the high of that cage match, that was one thing. I almost feel like they structured the order of the card wrong, because with the emotional catharsis of that, I don't see how you could not put that on last.
I feel like with the build that it had and the investment from fans, and of course, I might romanticize this period of Ring of Honor because I was so young when I watched it. But I feel like you have to put that in the main event, because to me, not only was it Ring of Honor's best story and maybe one of their best stories of all time, I also feel like it was a star-making match, both for the guys and for Ring of Honor. I feel like it really set the tone for Ring of Honor moving forward, and it sort of turned over a new leaf for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it kicked into motion so many other fantastic things for them, because that was something that ROH always excelled at, was long-term storytelling and watching characters grow over time. The end of that match saw Jimmy Jacobs finally achieve his goal and finally win over the heart of Lacey. And then he realized that once he got everything he ever wanted, he still felt hollow and he still felt empty. And that led directly to the Age of the Fall, which led to Lacey's departure from Ring of Honor eventually, after that angle started to run its course. And then 7 years later, at Supercard of Honor 9, they paid that off with long-term storytelling, as Jacobs fought Whitmer one last time as Jacobs was about to leave for his job at WWE Creative. After the match, Whitmer and the rest of the Decade, his stable with, again, Roderick Strong, popping back up in ROH history, and Colby Carino and a few others came out, jumped Jacobs, and Lacey came out for the save, who hadn't been seen in ROH in 6 or 7 years, and they gave that fan service, that happy ending, and it was just this wonderful moment of, if you didn't follow it 7 years ago, you weren't quite sure what was going on, but it was, for the fans that did, that was an amazing moment.
And I think it really speaks to Ring of Honor's pioneer status as storytellers. That is not to say that storytelling didn't happen in, TNA or WWE or in Japan or Mexico or whatever. But I think for a lot of North American wrestling fans, I think Ring of Honor during this period really pushed the boundaries of what wrestling storytelling could be. And I'm not going to say that this was, planned to happen this way over the course of, many, many, many years, but making sure to go back and tie in loose ends and fill plot holes and tell a cohesive story regardless of who's moving in, who's moving out, all these other factors. I think Ring of Honor deserves a lot of credit for that. And I think they deserve a lot of credit for that, for what we see in AEW now, because AEW does a lot of the same stuff.
Oh yeah, 100%. The Lacey save at Supercard 9, there's part of me that, while I love the fan service of it, I struggled with the concept a little bit, because the entire concept of her leaving Ring of Honor in the first place around 2008 or so was that Jimmy had ostensibly attacked her with his loaded spike, and in storyline they played it as though, is she fearing for her life from him? And it's, it got very toxic and controlling and abusive from that end in storyline terms. And while I loved the fan service of her coming back and saving him and giving the fans that one last moment before he left, there was a part of me that always went, I remember how she left, and how many years, that feels a little gross, no matter how much he's reformed or not. But that's probably just me being, kind of a pedant. It's kind of what I do.
No, I definitely think that's fair. I think in wrestling we do see a lot of that toxic relationships, especially especially for women, and I think it's easy to dismiss those things as trivial, or maybe they don't matter as much. But I do think there's a way to handle stories like that to appease the fans and to not to brush over real serious issues. Mm-hmm. And like I said, maybe I'm romanticizing it. I don't know. But I think that sort of the culmination of that story, I think it was well done.
Yeah.
And your concerns are definitely valid. I'll say that.
And just so I can be on both sides of the coin, because of course, mm-hmm. To ROH's defense, it was never explicitly laid out why she left or what happened. The idea was it happened in the old ROH video wire, which was a thing back in the day where they aired, 15 or 20 minute videos on YouTube that were promos. Sometimes they'd have exclusive short matches, angles, things like that. They had what was essentially fan cam footage outside of what they claimed was Lacey's gym, where from across the parking lot, you saw Jacobs confront her, pull his spike from his cane, and then the footage got scuttled as though the cameraman got concerned and ran away or something like that. So you never actually saw what happened. And at no point in the promotion that I can recall was Jacobs ever explicitly violent to her without being exceedingly remorseful about it immediately after, which is never to excuse that, but I'm trying to pair together character beats here, and I'm going very stream of consciousness about it, so this is always dangerous. So it's entirely possible that he never actually did anything to her and just asked her to, in an event. We're spending a lot of time on this.
Go check it out. Honor Club might still be a thing. I don't know, but go check it out. Go find it somewhere. You're not going to regret it.
Go track down a copy of Supercard of Honor 2 any way you can, any legal way you can. There was also a tremendous promo that Jacobs cut in the lead up to the cage match. I don't know if that was on Supercard of Honor 2's DVD release or not, or if it was on the previous show, where Jacobs cut an amazing promo going into the cage match, comparing himself and his concept to the John Hughes movies of the past, where, it's prom night, it's my time to get the girl, and, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to, culminating in calling Whitmer little brother like Whitmer always did to him. And just Jimmy Jacobs was always so good at just tying all those emotional beats together and just doing something brilliant with them. The fact that he was never a bigger star than he was in ROH is something that is a travesty to this day.
Not gonna lie, I think about this all the time. I think about this a lot. I think about, Tyler Black, Seth Rollins going on and becoming, Seth Rollins. I think about Bryan Danielson. I think about Kevin Steen, and I think about all these guys. And what happened?
Jimmy Jacobs was cursed to not be born 6'2" and 240 pounds. I guess that's the best you can say.
I'm gonna have to agree with you, because I think there's a lot. If we could nitpick Ring of Honor, we could nitpick any promotion and find these guys that never went into bigger things, and I think that would probably be something they all have in common.
Yeah. Let's see. As long as we're talking other ROH history and Supercard of Honor, how about Supercard of Honor? Which one was it? Supercard of Honor 7, I believe, was the That was the one where I believe that was Jay Briscoe's first Ring of Honor World Championship.
Kevin Steen, right?
He defeated Kevin Steen to end Steen's reign of terror over the promotion after he beat Davey Richards back in 2011. I just had to look up some of the dates. But yeah, that was Jay Briscoe's first ROH World title, came at Supercard of Honor.
And, Jay Briscoe, what a career he's had. The Briscoes as a tag team, of course, legends. Future Ring of Honor Hall of Famers, by the way. But I think Jay Briscoe, I don't think a lot of people really understand how much they leaned on him. And Kevin Steen, all the credit to Kevin Steen. I think everyone can agree, even if you've never seen a Steen match, even if you've only seen him as Kevin Owens, I think it's undeniable that he's a generational talent. But give Jay Briscoe his flowers, people. Mm-hmm. And go watch this match. This was a great match.
It was tremendous. That was during the Scum angle, which again featured Jimmy Jacobs as another great catalyst there, with Steve Corino and Kevin Steen running roughshod over the promotion, as Steen and Jacobs both professing to be reformed, formerly evil men who then just decided it wasn't worth it and went back to their evil ways and ran roughshod over the promotion. Corino and Jacobs won the tag titles. Steen held the world title. So again, you keep seeing names dotted throughout Ring of Honor history, and how could I forget him when we talked about potential future Ring of Honor Hall of Famers? Jimmy Jacobs deserves to be in that conversation as well. 110%.
100%. You know what? One day we have to go and make, this is my Ring of Honor Hall of Fame, and we'll compare. We'll do it.
Love it.
Back to Jay Briscoe, just to sort of wrap that up. I looked it up. He, main evented Supercard of Honor 7 with Kevin Steen. Supercard of Honor 8 was Adam Cole, and Supercard of Honor 9 with Samoa Joe.
Yes.
So those opponents, oh boy, Ring of Honor legends. But Jay Briscoe is a singles guy. Give him his flowers.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't believe. Yeah. Jay, I believe, is the only one who main evented Supercard 3 times.
Yeah.
Might be the only one who did it 3 times. Well, no, Roderick also did it 3 times. Jay's the only one who did it 3 times in a row. Roderick main evented 1, 5, and 6. But yeah, Jay is the only one to have done it 3 times in a row.
Yeah, and we touched on this in earlier episodes, but Ring of Honor really did rely on the Briscoes, but specifically Jay Briscoe, especially when all these guys were coming into Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor would get behind them and make them champions, and then they would leave. Which I'm not dissing people leaving, because that's wrestling, and go get paid, because you're putting your body through something tremendously traumatic, and you deserve to be, paid well for that.
I believe friend of the show, Kerry Silken, and last week's guest mentioned that as well, where he's like, I never would stand in the way of guys, getting that call.
No, because go get your money, because your chances are you're going to retire early, and you can't keep doing this grind your whole life. But I think it's hard to deny that it was difficult for Ring of Honor for a period of about, I would say, like 10 years to keep up with how many guys were leaving and going to WWE. And Jay Briscoe was the guy. Yep. He was a source of stability for them. You could put him in anything and he would make it work. Controversial comments aside, past aside. I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah. I think I said it at one point, we were talking about the Hall of Famers, that the 3 names were Jay Briscoe, Jay Lethal, and Adam Cole, that carried them through some rough periods, especially after Black left and Steen left and Generico left, and that upper card, and McGuinness left, and that upper card was gone, and it was those 3 that carried it for a long, long time. Michael Elgin was there too, but his title reign was, I never really felt a strong connection to Elgin's title reign, but that's just me.
No, I think for a lot of people, we never felt a strong connection to him at all. Like, not just his title reign, just him. I just didn't enjoy his character. His in-ring work was fine, and stuff he did after, it was fine, but I just never felt as connected to him as I did to the Briscoes and Jericho and all these other guys.
I think one of my hot takes on Twitter was something to the effect of Jeff Cobb is everything Michael Elgin was, but better.
You know what you should do? You should ditch the historian gimmick and just rebrand yourself as Hot Takes Kyle. Your name is Kyle Sparks.
That would end. I feel like that would end really badly.
There somewhere.
I feel like that would end really badly, really quickly.
Or you would get a lot of engagement and build a following. It could go either way.
And let's see. And Jeff Cobb did. And speaking of Jeff Cobb, he did have a brief run in. Boo.
There's a pun in there somewhere. Jameis knows. Jamie knows. We'll workshop it.
Yeah, there you go. Feel free to leave us some comments and some suggestions.
Yes.
There's no way this can end badly.
No.
No, and it's I felt like I feel like that was true. I feel like that's a matter of personal taste. That's what makes it a hot take in the first place.
Let's go back to Jeff Cobb so we don't go down this path and say something problematic.
Former Ring of Honor TV champion himself.
Yes.
Who I love the way they brought him into the company. Just as an aside, I'm full of those today apparently, where they just had him interrupting matches throughout the Top Prospect tournament. He wreaked havoc all over the Top Prospect tournament because he was left out, to the point where he finally got then TV champion Punishment Martinez's the now Damian Priest's attention, and just trucked him for the ROH TV title. I forget the show off the top of my head, but and then Cobb showed up at G1 Supercard to do a unification match with then never openweight champion Will Ospreay, which was a great match. And see, I always get back to Supercard. Give me some time. It's 6 degrees, okay?
No, I definitely think Jeff Cobb is one of those guys who's flown under the radar. He had that one AW appearance. He's done some other stuff with New Japan. But I definitely think he's flown under the radar. But I do think that he's a star. I think he's a star in the making. And I would love to see him in the new Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor, the Tony Khan Ring of Honor, the new era of Ring of Honor, whatever we're going to call it. I think he fits. I think he fits anywhere. I think he's incredible.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I love seeing what he's doing in New Japan right now. His work with the United Empire with Will Ospreay and Great-O-Khan and Aaron Hanare has been fantastic. And I would imagine that there's probably still interest from Tony Khan, because I forget where the interview was, but supposedly there was an agreement in place to do more AEW dates around the time that, because you remember Chris Jericho brought him in for that one date to be heavy against Moxley. And supposedly there was plans for upwards to, I want to say 10 more dates. And the pandemic just just threw it all into disarray. And so I'd be shocked if there was not still interest on Tony Khan's part. The catch now will be prying him away from New Japan, who sees dollar signs in him, and justifiably so.
Well, Forbidden Door. We can all work together. We can make it work. Let me have it. Fan service.
Give me Jeff Cobb against, name your opponent.
Hobbs.
Oh man. Really going all in on the big meaty men slapping meat, I see, in honor of Big E.
Big E. Prayers for Big E. All my love to Big E. So, is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap up?
No, I don't believe so. I'm very, as we've said, I'm very excited to see what happens with Supercard and what this means moving forward. I'm excited to see if we're going to have to rebrand the backdrop on or the overlay on our show here, as to whether or not what it's going to look like moving forward, where it's going to be. Like we said, guys, this is such an exciting time, and it is. Yeah. There is not going to be a better time to come on board.
There really isn't. And you know what? If you want match recommendations, just follow Kyle on Twitter, and just his Twitter's right there. Follow him. This guy is a walking encyclopedia of Ring of Honor. He can tell you anything. It's incredible. But speaking of Twitter, where can people find you?
I am at Kyle K. Sparks on the Twitter machine. Find me there. Right now, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Michigan State basketball, just because they're my team and they're in the tournament right now. But outside of occasional sports stuff, I'm usually live tweeting Rampage, live tweeting Dynamite. If I'm late, it's because I'm putting my kids to bed. Having fun like that, being a dad. But find me here every Monday. Oh, it already is. It's a train wreck.
I haven't even checked mine. I did it, and then I put it somewhere, and it's going to stay there.
I fell into the trap of Iowa as a sexy deep run team, and that just blew up immediately in my face. Anyway, follow me on Twitter at Kyle K. Sparks. I'm usually live tweeting Rampage and Dynamite. I will occasionally doing a few other things. I'll be periodically hosting post shows here on Body Slam. I just hosted the Revolution post show. We'll probably be doing something in relation to Supercard of Honor. I can't confirm that yet, but I would like to. So let me just toss that nugget out into the universe. Let's make that happen. Follow my writing on bodyslam.net. Watch me every Monday here with Kylie as we do this for the Code of Honor podcast. Yay. Yeah, you'll see me floating around. I'm a shameless self-promoter, so.
Well, speaking of shameless self-promoter, I'm one too. You can follow me on Twitter at Fuller_Kylie. I also live tweet AEW. I live tweet some Impact pay-per-views. I do lots of things. You can see me here every Monday with Kyle, the best co-host in the world, and our decent producer Jamie. You can find me on Fightful Overbooked, Demo Divas, where we talk all things women's wrestling. We've been a little bit sort of absent the last few weeks, but I've been traveling a ton. I went to Revolution. I went to GCW in Atlanta. So I've been MIA, but we're back. We're all finally, in our homes. We're ready to go. We'll be back. You can see me doing other random things around the internet. So you're going to have to follow my Twitter to find them. But also follow bodyslam.net on Twitter at bodyslam.net. You can find them on any platform. We're on Twitch now. Go watch people on Twitch. They're doing some crazy things on Twitch, but I think you guys will enjoy it. You can go to bodyslam.net and read everyone's writing, editorials, news, MMA, some stuff, all sorts of things. Bodyslam.net on all socials. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Bye. Make sure to follow Code of Honor Cast. It's where we find all sorts of good stuff. See you next week, y'all.